computer. Hi there. Oh, Christmassy, John. Lovely, lovely bit of reindeer action there.
Produced by my great niece Ella. This was very beautiful.
Beautiful. Very good. Christmas greetings, season's greetings. Everyone there in VC world. And disappointingly, as you can see, John and I are now no longer in the same room because the UK is topping the leaderboard of COVID cases.
By miles, evidently.
By miles. And everything's gone. It's very much like a mirror image of this time last year, basically.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking today about Christmas 2019, which seems like about 400 years ago or something or other, which was the last kind of COVID-free Christmas. And
yeah,
long time ago.
It was like a long time ago. But anyway, John and I are here to share our highlights of the year of 2021. So that will probably feature some brand new music, some reissues, and just some music that we've discovered or rediscovered along the way. Do you want to kick off, John?
Yeah. Okay, let's go with I can try and pick a record that you're not going to show, Mark, actually. We're just working out that probably we all end up showing the same records, actually. I'm going to pick something that wasn't released this year, but something I've been listening to a lot, and that is this one, actually. Which is basically a great collection of Alice Coltrane's devotional music, basically, which Luaka Bop, which is David Byrne's label, put together. And it's kind of just great stuff, actually. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of put almost like a stop sign between what she did before in the kind of jazz world and what she did later on with her devotional stuff. But there's a real through line to me, actually. And it's just a wonderful record to play. There's some great singing on this, not just from her, but also from some of the other singers she had in her congregation, I guess, actually, which is what it was. And as much as it's kind of influenced by kind of Eastern music, it's also very, very strongly gospel orientated as well. Just great stuff. I mean, if you don't have this, a lot of people do, I think, already, but it's a great record, I think.
Right. I'm just thinking, oh no, okay. I'm going to show something different. I know you don't have this, John. I'm pretty sure you don't have it. This is, oh God, glare alert. Not a very exciting looking cover here, but it's actually a very nice cover. This is Nate Smith, the drummer, the US drummer, and Kinfolk 2, See the Birds. Now, I think I must have seen Nate Smith drumming on a Wolfpack video, actually, because he did seem a bit familiar. But I seem to have missed him. This is definitely at least his second album. And a great drummer, really great drummer, sort of basically a jazz drummer, but definitely kind of around the edges of kind of R&B and soul. A big kind of Pat Metheny vibe for me going on here, and just some great collaborators, particularly Stokely from Mint Condition appears on a track called Don't Let Me Get Away, which I highly recommend people go and listen to. Also, Brittany Howard is on here. Vernon Reed's on here. Yeah, just a great album. I mean, fantastic playing, really diverse sort of set of tracks, styles, but a very good vibe throughout. And yeah, well worth picking up. Came out this year.
Nearly have it, but it hasn't arrived yet, actually. I've ordered it. I actually saw him with Chris Potter and Craig Table in a trio years and years ago in New York. Absolutely fantastic drummer. I mentioned on my show actually tonight is that the New York clubs are much smaller than anyone thinks, actually. And I was virtually sitting next to him, so he was kind of like to the right-hand side of me playing. Great drummer, I think. Really, really good.
And has he been playing with Pat Metheny? Or
he was the first drummer in Side-Eye.
There you go. What a beautiful
connection. Which I showed in the last video, but it's just been just a great record, actually. And I think I'm very excited by the fact that Pat Metheny is coming to the UK in June next year. Yeah, I mean, kind of it seems from the reviews that are coming through of this that it's absolutely incredible band with James Francis and Joe Jukes, who's the current drummer from New Orleans. And Pat seems to be doing this thing where he's rotating, he's keeping him and James Francis, who's this phenomenal keyboard player, and then rotating the drummer, changing the drummer periodically as well. So, and I think Nate Smith was the second drummer in the band as well. But this is a great album. I mean, kind of, I think weirdly been kind of overlooked in a sense, because it's not, you know, it's not a limited edition. It's easy to get, doesn't cost very much money, but it's a fantastic record, I think.
Lovely. Okay, let's go with a bit of Mono. MonoNeon's had a big year, actually. He seems to be breaking through from being a very underground artist who kind of just weird people and bass players have been going on about, I think, for the last sort of 5 or 6 years. Obviously, originally was discovered by Prince and was playing on some of the last Paisley Park live sessions. But he's reappeared fronting a band as a singer. I mean, he's doing a lot of not depping, but joining in with other artists, including Larry Goldings and the Scary Pockets? Yeah, which actually I have to say is probably the most unexciting band I've seen him in. It's when he kind of just does his thing, a real kind of innovator on the bass and a completely original voice in music, which is a rare thing these days. So yeah, he put a couple of albums out this year, which they're always very limited. So, you know, I just jump on them, and I've got 3, I think, so far. So MonoNeon, and yeah, just check him out on YouTube. He just does the most incredible imaginative takes on sound, actually. Yeah, absolute genius.
Well, kind of in his world in a weird kind of way now, because I guess he really started off mostly as a kind of YouTube phenomenon, didn't he? Actually, more than anything else. Okay, I've now lost the track. I was going to put the album I was going to show next, but I think I'm going to change tack a bit. Frank Zappa.
That works with MonoNeon, I think.
It does work very much with MonoNeon. The film, I mean, the kind of film which came out early in the year in Apple and then got shown in the UK on the BBC, had a massive effect. And I was kind of looking at, I mean, I'd basically put a number of, to be honest, it was a number of Frank Zappa albums in my basket for Mark to buy for Christmas, which is an incredible kind of very cheap vinyl remasters of Frank Zappa tunes. And they were all like kind of about 2 months ago, they were all about 15, 20 pounds. And now they're all about 80 quid each, basically.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been trying to snap up all those Frank Zappa vinyl reissues as quickly as possible. And I think it's got to be from the film, actually, which has made the difference. So I picked up Orchestral Favourites, actually, not last couple of weeks ago, which is a great kind of, almost like a kind of, it's not really an orchestra. I mean, basically it's a big band playing Frank Zappa tunes. And it's been beautifully redone, got great sleep. Also, they had a horrible cover on this when it was originally released, and they've replaced it with a slightly better cover now. And yeah, I mean, it's really, I find it really kind of encouraging that obviously a whole new generation of people are listening to Frank's music.
Amazing documentary. I think we mentioned it last time. Okay, where should we go from here? Ooh, well, I'm going to show this. I think I have shown this before, but it's the Natural Information Society. It's the album that did got released for the first time last year. It's basically Joshua Abrams on the Gwimbri, which is a kind of weird 4-stringed kind of bass instrument, but playing live at Cafe Otto in Dalston, and very much featuring the alto playing of Evan Parker. And Evan's been a bit of a feature for me this year because he lives in the same town, and I keep running into him. And John and I had a great afternoon with him last time John was there.
Afternoon come evening, I think.
A couple of hours just talking about music. Anyway, this is, I just think it's a fantastic piece of music for our times. It's called Dissension Out of Our Restrictions, and it's basically one track across 4 sides that just keeps ebbing and flowing and building, and yeah, it's really, really nice. Very nicely recorded. So there we go. Natural Society.
I kind of I was listening to that and various other. There's been quite a bit of Evan coming out in the last year and different, but all of it's in him playing soprano saxophone, and I've been missing him playing tenor. So I pulled this one out of my for sale pile, but it's no longer in my for sale pile. And this is on Beak Doctor Records, and this was a record called, I don't remember what it was called actually, Abracadabra, which is Evan playing tenor saxophone with a American pianist called Greg Goodman, who they have a kind of, they seem to record a record about, well, they were recording a record about every 5 or 6 years. And this is a great example of Evan on tenor. He just plays tenor on this record rather than soprano. Yeah, so it's been kind of, and I think during the year I've been digging into a lot of my improvised music records more and more, actually. It's kind of been a good excuse to just kind of listen to stuff you haven't heard for a very long time. This was a good example of it. This is a great record, actually. Really nicely recorded as well.
Right, I am going to move to this, which I definitely haven't shown. So one of the big discoveries for me is an outfit or a label called Basic Channel, out of Berlin. One half of which is a guy called Moritz von Oswald. This is actually a collaboration. We also, need to kind of remember several amazing musicians who passed over this year, and this is a collaboration between Moritz van Oswald and Tony Allen. And again, I'm mystified. They're like Honest John's in the UK seem to have a direct link to all of the Basic Channel back catalogue, and it's all really cheap. And this was a double album that I picked up for £17. I couldn't believe it. Really nice. And there's a third musician who is Max Ladderbauer on synthesizers, and it's very textural, kind of semi-ambient, but kind of with this Afrobeat groove going underneath, electronics, lots of space. And I don't know, it's just been, it's so exciting when you discover a new sort of either set of musicians or a music you've not really heard before, and there's so much to discover, and it's been a great journey on the Basic Channel. I'm sure you're going to show something, John.
I can do now, yeah. I mean, it's great because Honest John's is about, three-quarters of a mile away from where I live. It's just down the road, really. And I think I'm being told that some of their, I mean, it is incredibly good to be able to get all their stuff very, very cheap, but I think they're beginning to run out now. And I think my guess is that if you want basic, and also rhythm and sounds releases as well, I mean, get them now, I think, and they're all great. So I was going to show actually Music Afro-Rule, which is a amazing kind of half hour of the same track, which sounds like something which should be absolute torture, but in fact it's incredibly interesting, really. And it's basically a long dub with very, very strong, as Mark was kind of hinting, really, techno elements as well, actually. And it's just one of the many records which I think this cost $7.99 or something or other as well. I mean, they're kind of, I mean, if you're at all interested in dub music, interesting areas of techno, just go and buy as much of the stuff you can get while it's still here, I think, actually. Yeah, real discovery this year.
I should say that this album was called Sounding Lines, and I believe there's 3 or 4 of the Moritz van Oswald trio albums out. It's kind of, he's split up with his partner, and they're doing stuff.
He had a stroke, evidently.
That's right. Yeah,
which has kind of made him kind of not as productive as he was before, I don't think.
Well, talking of artists who we've lost this year, since John and I met last month, we've lost Robbie Shakespeare, bass player extraordinaire, originally with the Revolutionaries and then obviously Sly and Robbie. And and yeah, just a massive influence across many decades of music. And I'm going to share this, which is Red from Black Uhuru, which, as you can see, only cost £3.99 when I bought it from Virgin in Exeter in about 1981, I think, or 82. 81. And this was actually really interesting. I'm noticing it was a top 60 album. So Roots Reggae was in the top 60 in 1981.
Big, wasn't it then? Yeah.
Yeah. And as any regular listeners will know, John and I both are doing regular radio shows, and I did a whole Robbie Shakespeare tribute and played the track Spongy Reggae off this, which actually production was absolutely sensational. Doesn't seem to have aged at all. It's weird, or that sound suddenly sounds very contemporary again. So this is Black Uhuru. It's Ducky, Puma, and Michael Rose, in fact. And John and I, before we met each other, discovered that we'd both been at the same gig, seeing Sly and Robbie backing, or as part of the Black Uhuru band, at the Rainbow in Finsbury Park.
Incredibly powerful. I mean, the music. I mean, I remember really being able to feel the kind of music in my kind of sternum almost. It was like so loud and so powerful, actually.
A very intense gig.
Very intense gig. Well, somebody was killed, weren't they? I think, or stabbed at the gig.
Yeah, not the one I went to. They did two gigs. I think I was at the one.
Anyway, I'm surprised Mark hasn't shown this yet, so I'm going to get in first. Actually,
it's going to be Lewis, isn't it?
Going to be Lewis. And I think again, did we know each other when Lewis came out? I think we did, just about.
Yeah, we did.
I remember getting this I had a girlfriend actually who worked for Island Records, and she gave me the vinyl, the original vinyl copy of this, and the CD. And the vinyl was absolutely terrible. The original pressing was unspeakably awful. I can't believe that people are paying over £100 or £200 for it now, actually. And it's great. I mean, all credit to Be With Records, really, for putting out a good version of this, actually. And it sounds great, actually. I mean, to be honest, the original CD sounded great as well, actually. I mean, it still sounded really good. And, you know, there's kind of rumours and just kind of hints that he's making some new music now, which would be fantastic, really. But, I mean, he is a absolute kind of star, really, and should be so... I'm kind of interested that I'm hearing that it's not selling terribly well, this record, which is kind of
really
the issue, which is kind of really weird. I think people are just strange about him, actually. They just don't get him really at all, actually. But I kind of hope this time around people would really start to appreciate what he does, actually. But a genius, really, does Taylor.
Yeah, you know that Stavros is into him.
Stavros is into him. And I think a few people on the VC are getting it now, I think.
Yeah, eventually. We've been going about it for years. Let's go here. Again, another record that I haven't shown before, because I didn't have it last time I saw John. This came out on Light in the Attic, and it's the Meters guitarist Leo Nocentelli. And this is an album that never got released when it was originally recorded back in 1972. It's called Another Side. It's been really nicely packaged up. There's a nice big thick booklet here. And yeah, if you're expecting kind of Sissy Strut or something, then you'll be very disappointed, because it's kind of sounding more like Bill Withers, really. It's kind of got that slightly folky with an underlying funk kind of vibe. Not every track is brilliant, but there are some absolute killers, and I particularly love actually the first two tunes, Thinking of the Day and Riverfront, are great. Yeah, and just a so I saw it come out, and I thought maybe, you know, I don't know if Leo's still around, actually. Do you know if he's still around, John?
I don't know. He works a lot with Kip Hanrahan, actually. He's on nearly all the Kip. I think he is still around. Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a new album, and I wasn't really like paying attention. And then I think I heard a track somewhere, and I thought, wow, this sounds incredible. So
it also sounds completely finished as well. It doesn't sound like it sounds properly recorded and mixed and everything.
Yeah, and very nice. If you're into a bit of coloured vinyl, lovely. Bit of yellow vinyl.
Okay, so I think we have to talk about Sam Gendel, don't we, at some point or other?
Yeah.
The whole thing. I mean, I'm going to show a really weird one by him, which is this record called Mouthfeel, which I showed at the last video we did actually. But it's a great one actually with and it's just really interesting music. Really, I mean everything he does, and he's got 2 new albums out this month actually, which I've just noticed as well. And he's just a very interesting character actually, and part of a whole kind of scene I think in Los Angeles, which is kind of, I mean, has some parallels with the UK scene. I think actually it's got some similar kind of, I mean, there's no overlap in people at all, but it's got the energy behind it. It's kind of almost seems like a kind of very similar kind of energy, although possibly more kind of broad based in the States than it is here, I think.
Yeah.
And interesting artist, I think.
I think the artists over here that are slightly in the same ballpark would be actually Dave Okomu,
Absolutely. Yeah.
who happens to be on this next album.
Very smooth segue that was.
It was a beautiful segue, wasn't it? This is Jonas, Policewoman, Tony Allen again, making another appearance post his death, and Dave Okomu, and a great album. I really love this album. I think it's again very fresh and original, and it's called The Solution is Restless, and it's a double album, and there you can see them all. I think pretty much recorded, you know, all separately. I think that they had a jam maybe back in 2018, 2019, and then the last year or two, I think Joan particularly, probably with Dave Okomu, has just been pulling bits and pieces together, but they've created a very coherent sound that just sounds very different. And again, you know, you can hear that it's Tony Allen underneath, but it doesn't sound anything like Afrobeat. It's something else altogether. Again, really interesting use of electronics, sonics, textures, and I think she's a great vocalist as well.
She's really good. I'm told I met her. I don't remember. I met her once in New York, but I don't remember this at all actually. But I think she did a great job. I think she constructed the whole thing basically. I think just cut, and a lot of it was kind of cut using kind of cut up techniques, and it really does work as a record. I think. I go into kind of weird rabbit holes actually quite often, and I went into a Paul Motion rabbit hole this year. I think it was 10 years because since he died, and also there's a fantastic film called Motion in Motion, which you can get on Vimeo of him, which is really brilliant documentary, and he's such a character, really. I mean, it's almost like you feel like they broke the mold when he disappeared, really. And I've just been listening to a lot of Paul Motion, including this one, which I'd never listened to too much, was just Tribute, which was kind of really interesting band for the kind of mid-70s with 2 electric guitars, bass, alto saxophone and percussion. And it's just, I mean, I just think he's a fantastic writer, really. His tunes are incredibly simple, almost like kind of folk songs, really. And I mean, people love playing his stuff, actually, and love being in his bands, I think. And what comes over very strongly in the film is that just people just love him, really, actually. And he was a very kind of irascible, kind of almost kind of difficult kind of character, but also people just kind of loved his work and loved playing with him, really. Yeah. So Paul Motion.
Right, I'm going to share something else that was new. This is Joe Berger Murr, and the album is called Unheimlich Maneuver. If you know what a Heimlich maneuver is.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've done it. I tried to do it once on somebody.
Basically, you do a Heimlich maneuver if someone's choking.
That's right. Yeah.
And Joe Berger Murr is a upright bass player. I think he may well be Norwegian, and I came across this because I get emails from an outfit called Rare Noise Records, and I just saw this album was out, and obviously, you know, I'm a bass player. I'm interested in people who are doing interesting things with the bass, like MonoNeon. This is very much more in kind of ambient experimental territory, and the sort of album I listened to, I got it when it came out, gave it 1 or 2 listens, didn't pay much attention, and then I've just gone back to it this last week, and it's actually really interesting, but it's something that you just need to spend a bit of time with. I think John Coltrane 68 is still tuning into us. He might kind of get into this. It's yeah, a lot of space texture and yeah, just interesting sounds.
I think he is Norwegian, but I think he's on a couple of those Hubro records as well. Actually, I think he's been on there. Something which didn't come out this year, but I got this year, thanks to Mark, actually bought it for my birthday, is the Ron Miles record, which is called Rainbow Sign. And it's just a gorgeous record, actually, and really, really excellent kind of just really good compositions. Fantastic band, of course, with Jason Moran, Bill Frisell, Thomas Morgan, and Brian Blade. And yeah, just a really, really good one. And probably out of all of the new Blue Note records over the last 18 months or so, this has been the one that's really stood out for me, I think. Just a really nice job. It almost feels like a kind of, they've almost done a tone poet job on a regular release, and it's a really beautiful sounding record.
Yeah. Well, I remember last year, I think last year John and I just did 3 records best of 21, whereas we're doing a whole show today. But here is Cleo Sol with her album Mother. Extremely expensive if you buy it on vinyl, but it is a beautiful piece of work. I mean, just really high quality cover and very, very nice pressing. And I guess, you know, the producer on this is a character called Inflow, who also produced Little Sims and SAULT, and is very much a flavor in the UK that seems to be catching a light across the world. And I mean, you know, Cleo Sol is not the most exciting vocalist, but there's something about the natural quality of her voice that I just find really soothing and very genuine. And I really like the arrangements and the playing and the feel of this. And it's been a comfort over the last, I guess, 6 months or so since I've had it.
There's something about her reminds me a little bit of Sade, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Not obviously in the arrangements, but her voice actually has got some of that kind of very easy. Sounds like she's not really, she's not a big effort for her to sing, actually. Just kind of natural sound.
And she's not doing the thing which you picked up on, John, which is sounding like a baby.
Yes, that's right. Anybody who sings who doesn't sound like a baby is good by me at the moment. We must be on our last record. Are we on our last record? I've completely lost track.
Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are.
Okay.
Last record, John. What's it going to be?
Okay, I'm going to go for. Actually, I was going to show some Art Pepper, but I'm not going to do that. Just another reissue that's come out this year, actually, which was Ian Carr's Belladonna, which was Ian Carr, obviously kind of famous for being in Nucleus. Belladonna was a record I've had. I think this might be my 3rd copy of it. I had twice and sold twice, and now I've bought again. But what I like about this is it came out from God, I can't remember who reissued it actually.
Is it Gearbox?
No, it wasn't Gearbox. It was something much cheaper than that. It was, what was the, I've completely forgotten who reissued it. But anyway, it came out and it's only 17 quid. And it's a really good pressing.
Sideways there, John.
Sorry?
Sideways.
That's how it comes, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Right.
I can hold it up the other way as well.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
And yeah, it's a very nice record. I mean, Ian Carr, I think, has got slightly kind of overrated, really, because of the perspective of looking back into the 70s in the UK. But it's a good record anyway.
Mm. And am I right in thinking that Ian Carr was a real sort of force in terms of bringing that wave of British jazz musicians through in the early 80s, like Courtney Pine and Steve Williamson, people like that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he used to write quite a lot about. But I don't think he was a kind of that big a figure at that time. Okay. And he was involved with setting up the Jazz Centre, which is probably where it comes from. I think actually that.
Okay, well, my last album is going to be a reissue, and I can't believe John and I remember we're talking about the Jamaican version of Catch a Fire that was going to be coming out this year, and it came out and it's gone and it's now really expensive. But the closest you can get to that kind of sound, I think, is probably this, which is a live album from Bob Marley recorded in the States in, I think, about 72 or 73, and featuring Peter Tosh, but Joe Higgs rather than Bunny Wailer as the backing singers, and of course the wonderful Aston and Carlton Barrett on the rhythm section. Just really, they're just sounding in fantastic form.
And all go for it, don't they, on that record as well? I mean, it's quite kind of, it's quite kind of raw sounding and very heavy as well. It's
really,
nice.
Really nice. Yeah, just you know, a live album that came out that doesn't sound like it was recorded from a cassette. It's actually really nicely recorded and great playing, fantastic vibe. So, John, what have you been reading?
I've been reading quite a lot this year, actually, but I thought I'd go for a music book. And I thought I'd go for Organic Music Societies, which I might have shown before. I'm not sure, actually.
No, you haven't.
But it's basically a book by and about Don Cherry, actually, and it's huge, as you can probably see from the thickness of it. And it's just great thing to pour into. Lots of really good interviews with Don, Moki Cherry, other people. Just really interesting, and kind of also kind of filled with a kind of, somebody mentioned this, I think, in one of the reviews of it. It's got such an optimism about it as well. It's kind of late 60s, early 70s, and really feels like people were trying out so many different ideas and feelings and different approaches to life at that time, actually, and feels almost totally opposite what's going on now in a strange way. But yeah, really good. And actually kind of, they kept it in print, they reprinted it, and it's kind of, it's not cheap, but it's also not massively expensive, and it's very beautiful. It's got some lovely, got some great illustrations in it as well, Don and other people. It's really good stuff.
Don, bit of artwork on the cover,
and that's a Moki Cherry cover as well, who did a lot of. She did a lot of his covers from, I think, Where is Brooklyn was the first one she did. I think ever since then it's been her who's been doing the covers.
Right. I love that style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not sharing a music book. I'm sharing a book that's looking a bit battered, actually, mainly because I spilled a glass of water on it the other morning. This is also a fairly big book, although it's got a lot of references at the back. This is called The Dawn of Everything, and it's a new history of humanity from David Graeber and David Wengrow. And David Graeber, a anthropologist, ethnographer, who sadly died actually about 2 weeks after the book got released into the world. Feels like it was a really big deal. I mean, a huge amount of research has gone into this book, and it's really looking back at a lot of assumptions and things that we think we know, and putting great big question marks over them. I'm probably not going to say a huge amount more than that, except that it's absolutely fascinating, very well referenced, and just a very different take on what we think we know about where everything came from, and particularly around societies and the way that societies are organized. And just really interesting to go really far back and look at, you know, the assumption always that basically since the Enlightenment things have got better and better, but not necessarily so. You know, I think we are living in a far more circular world in terms of how things happen than we might like to think.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever called anything primitive after reading that book, actually.
No.
At all. I mean, I think it's very interesting looking, and yeah, very refreshing. I think some of it's kind of pretty speculative in a way, because it has to be, because obviously, but I think it's great. It's just, you feel very kind of charged up by reading it. I think actually it's a great book.
Hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful.
I think. Yeah. Great. Well, come to the end of a year. We were going to be meeting up after Christmas in real life, but as we said at the beginning of the video, that's looking highly unlikely.
I think it might be happening at the moment. I think it was shut down. It might be going on as we're talking, actually.
But you know, it's been great meeting all of the so many VC characters over this year and last year, of course. And great that there's still a scene and a community and people wanting to share their passions for music. Very great to see Sacco Funk sort of back in force.
Yeah.
Have you been watching any of his videos, John?
I have indeed, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Almost feels like it's kind of, for me, both of us, he was the first one we saw, I think, on the VC.
Again, the circle comes round.
It does indeed.
Anyway, have a good Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Happy New Year, I guess, as well. But we'll see you in the new year.
Oh, and as always, tune into our shows if you want to hear some of the music we're talking about and much more besides.
Absolutely.